What they would do with every single new brand that would pop up, they'd send them cease and desist letters. Well, as a new company, that's super, super scary. If we can create a lunchbox that's price efficient, well insulated, it's durable, and we can print logos on it, it's probably going to sell. $180,000 in revenue, early 2018, bought a $240,000 printer.
All right. Well, Jonathan, thanks for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. Well, let's start off with sharing who Jonathan is, your family, a little bit about your history, and how you got to where you are now.
Well, thanks for having me on, Ryan. Absolutely. I appreciate it. So I'm Jonathan. I was born and raised Amish, and from a very entrepreneurial family. And my mom's a serial entrepreneur. And my dad, I remember growing up, her and my dad having side hustles.
What were some of the businesses they ran?
One of them, which was kind of what led into my story with Bevanda, but my mom would get these pillar candles, like a 6-inch, 4-inch, and 5-inch pillar candle. She would get it imported from China. And what she would do is she would take a block of candle wax, put it in a pan above the stove, melt the wax, and then she'd wax it on the candle. So it looked like a real candle, but it had electric. It was a battery candle.
Oh, LED fascinating. Candle. Oh, crazy. So it would be an electric candle, but then she would put wax on the outside.
Battery candle, yep.
Battery powered. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my mom, and I remember they never had a ton of money. They were never wealthy. They just grinded it out. And I learned a lot from my mom, and even my dad. My dad was a workhorse. He wasn't really an entrepreneur. But my mom, with the entrepreneur brains, my dad would usually execute, and they made a great team. And so I learned a ton from that. So that's kind of my entrepreneurial background, but a family of 5. I was the second in line. There's 3 brothers, 2 sisters, and we're all very entrepreneurial. We're all hard driving, love to get things done. Yeah.
What are some of where is everybody at now? If you don't mind sharing.
In terms of
business-wise.
Business-wise, so my oldest brother, Alan, is the CEO of Zook Cabins, which they're doing some crazy things over there, crushing it. They really had a tremendous growth the last 3-4 years, and on a massive trajectory. And then it's me. I own Bevanda. And then it's Leon. He's just got promoted to Chief Sales Officer. He's a really good salesman. So he just got promoted to Chief Sales Officer at Zook Cabins.
All right.
Then my sister Sarah, entrepreneur as well, but they adopted 2 kids and have 3 biological. So she's a stay-at-home mom, but entrepreneurial spirit. She had a few years ago. She had this cinnamon roll. She's a baker. She loves to bake, and she stumbled across this cinnamon roll recipe. Kind of self-fabricated it. It's incredible, and started selling them out of her basement. Got her food license and started selling a ton of them. And then she had a baby, and so, but she has kind of a baking background. Her and her husband own their own market stand. It's a bakery.
Okay.
And then my youngest sister, Lainey, she's my business partner at Bevanda. So she does marketing. She's our chief marketing officer.
Yeah. She also does travel agency work.
And then she has her travel agency as well. Yeah, she loves to travel. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. Wow. So then that led you, a little bit more about you, family-wise. You married, kids, where are you at with that right now?
Yep. So I met my wife in 2010. She has Amish background as well. I had left the Amish several years before I met her, but I met her. We got married in 2012. And we actually have 2 kids. Most recently just adopted. Our latest one actually just got home from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Congratulations.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, but we have Adria. She's our oldest. She's 10 and a half. And we've had secondary infertility for almost 10 years. Yeah. And so just that journey with running a business, my wife had some health issues. And so just dealing with that while running a business has been very challenging, but we always knew we wanted to adopt. And so we started the process about 1.5 years ago. Yeah. Lots of money, lots of paperwork, and just recently just brought him home.
And here you are.
2 weeks ago.
Now you're in the newborn phase.
Yeah.
And how's that going?
Oh, no. So Adria, she's been sleeping all night since she's 6 weeks old. So she's 10 and a half. So imagine 10 years of sleeping all night. And so I was like, okay, newborn, no big deal, right? Yep. You lose a lot of sleep. Yeah. So we knew we were going to get other challenges, but losing sleep is probably the biggest one because you're trying to run a business, and there's, as you know, Ryan, there's it's hard. Some days are the grind.
Yeah.
And if you're tired, it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah,
but man,
absolutely.
it's been worth it. It's adoption. Birth is a miracle. Adoption is a miracle in itself.
Yeah.
So
wow. Well, congratulations. That's exciting. Probably challenging, but very exciting for adding a new family member in your life. As far as a tip, earplugs. Somebody told me a while back, and it's not to silence your baby, but even if you're taking care of your baby while they're crying and you have earplugs in, you're not on sensory overload anymore. So now you can actually think while your baby's crying and not be as stressed out like sensory overload. So earplugs could be beneficial.
So I get home from work yesterday, and my wife made that comment. She's like, my nerve.
You're just overloaded.
It's overloaded.
Yep.
And so I took the baby as soon as I got home from work, and she's like, because he was crying, changing. She had him at the doctor. So that's a good point.
So earplugs, even for your wife.
Have you tried it?
Yeah, I have, and it works. It works great. Yeah. So it just dulls all of your senses. So then you're not as high strung, quick to react. So it could be something to try out. Yeah. Somebody gave me that advice a while ago.
That's great. That's
like,
awesome.
That's great advice. Yeah. Well, now to Bevanda. So you're the president, owner, founder of Bevanda.
All the above.
All the above. Explain a little bit about the history of Bevanda, how you got started with it, and what you guys do, and then can lead into, or we can talk about it as we go on, but now you're rebranding to an extent and but start off with the history and how you got it started.
So I mentioned the candle business with my parents, right? So my brother Leon was a part of that. My older brother Alan was a part of that. And through that, one of our customers came to us and said, hey, we have this it was one of their vendors, said, we have this retail location that we want to sell. Are you guys interested? And being an entrepreneurial family, we said, hey, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And they bought that. It was my brother and my two brothers that bought it. And they said, hey, would you want to run this? I have a background in retail. And I said, yeah, I'll manage it. This was at the markets of Shrewsbury in York.
Yeah.
It was a gift shop. And so my parents were doing the candle business at home. I was out in York running the retail location, and we were just co-managing, all kind of working together.
How old were you at this time?
Industry. This was in 2015.
15. Okay.
So I've been in 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I was 26.
Yeah.
And just young, ambitious.
Yep.
Just, hey, we'll figure it out. And we got Corksicle. You familiar with Corksicle?
Yeah.
It's the water bottle brand. Yep. Got that in and immediately started selling a ton of them. So this was in 2015. So Yeti was on this massive trajectory. Yep. And at that time, to my knowledge, there was maybe 5 to 8 brands. It's not like it is today. It was Yeti, Hydro Flask, Corksicle, Swell, which Swell was selling at Starbucks.
Yeah. Stanley?
Stanley was
not even.
They weren't not with their recent outburst in kind of the female target audience, but so they were there. They were relevant, but it was the Yeti, Corksicle, Hydro Flask and Swell were probably the main players, and so we couldn't keep Corksicle on our shelves. So this one Christmas season, and the goal for seasonal businesses, and we were a Christmas season, is get your inventory in and turn it quickly, and. Corksicle had sent us the order right before, like a week before Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was a very large order. And so how are you supposed to turn that in a week's time? So we were left with the inventory
for the following
quarter, which is Q1, which is slow season. So a lot of inventory. We managed through that, and that summer started selling a ton of Corksicle again. But they had fulfillment issues. What was happening is they were growing like crazy. Yep. Yeti was growing like crazy. So as a buyer, I said, hey, why don't we get their competitor in? They're selling so well. Yeah. Tried to open an account at Yeti, and Yeti wasn't taking any new accounts. So my brother Leon's like, why can't we? We're already importing flameless battery candles. Yeah. Why can't we do this? So he was in product. So this was 2016. He was in product development for about a year. I started with some colors. And he was like, let's give it a whirl. So we got samples in, got a display in, put it in so we had candles on the one side of the showroom and a display rack of water bottles.
What was that like? How was it figuring out what bottles, like were you designing them? Were you working, how'd you find the manufacturer? What was that process?
Through Alibaba. So Alibaba's
even back then. So I guess Alibaba.
This is 2006. But it was different back then because Alibaba was it was designed for vendors, right?
Yeah.
And so he just messaged them, got in contact with the factory, and probably 10 of them at that point, and whoever responded back, and that's how we found our factory.
Wow.
And fun fact, that's still our factory today.
The original
factory in
That's
2000,
awesome. That's crazy.
In 17.
Yeah.
We launched, and the goal for us was to go B2B. So this was right when trade shows were just starting to die off. E-commerce was starting to take off.
Yep.
And so we, clueless with the industry. We knew the gift industry. We were still going to trade shows, but we were going to, our distribution and to market model was going to be B2B, wholesale distribution.
Yep.
Well, our landlord, he walks in the one day, he's like, hey, dude, that's cool, new business idea. He's like, dude, I'll order 750 water bottles if you can put my logo on it.
Sheesh.
One of my friends, Matt at JM Lap Plumbing, he's like, hey, dude, that great water bottle. If I can order 500, if I can put my logo on it, I'll take 500. And so we knew that there's a business model within the promotional side of it.
That's a quick request.
So we were trying to do B2B.
Yeah.
And then we said, promotional, kind of out of nowhere. Yep. And that's kind of how we've entered the market is through the promotional side.
And that was 2017?
That was 2017.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Huh. That's crazy. So then how did that go with, like, they asked if you could put their logo on it. How easy was that to do? And what was that process like?
Very, very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's screen printing. A lot of these factories do screen printing. So what we would do is we'd order it from China. So for example, in today's world, our MOQs, minimum order quantities for the water bottle is maybe 5,000 per color, just because the factories in China are designed to do mass production.
Yep.
So MOQs was an issue. So we had customers come and say, hey, I'd like 100. We can't fulfill your order because China won't accept that.
Yeah.
Byler's Donuts came. They were one of our first customers as well. They came after us and said, hey, we want this Pantone color bottle with a white logo.
Yeah.
I think they had ordered maybe 1,500 units. The water bottles came in reversed. The water bottles were white with a red logo.
Oh, no.
And so quality control was an issue. And so we started looking at, like, what are our options? Like, should we do screen printing, laser engraving, laser etching?
And so to recap, to start, you were having them print it in China as well. So they were manufacturing and then also printing there, and then they would ship it to you. So then by the time you got them and you noticed something was wrong, it was...
And the lead times, 5 to 6 months.
Yeah.
MOQs, quality control.
Yep.
And so we soon, and we saw this opportunity of, hey, if we have all these raw colors, our whatever colors we choose sitting in our warehouse, can we just laser engrave them or print them? And so... one of the first things, I think this is from an entrepreneur, kind of an entrepreneurial note, is you want to distinguish yourselves. How can you be different? Yep. And so laser etching takes some new technology. You can do it in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Back then it was 5 to 6 minutes per bottle.
Yep.
And everybody else was doing it. So we're like, how can we be different?
Yeah.
My brother, he's probably the most visionary in our family. He's like this off the wall guy. You always have to rein him back in. This is Leon. And we pretty much task him like, hey, find something.
Yeah.
The one morning he comes into work, he's like, dude, I found something. I found a printer. We were doing, at that point, I think we were doing right around, I don't have it written down, but just talking to my mom, our family, we were doing about 180,000 in revenue.
Okay.
And he comes in, he's like, I have the solution. Pulled up the website. This is going to solve our problems. Like print speeds is like 30 seconds a bottle. It's UV, so it comes out of the printer, ready to package. Wow. Super efficient.
Yeah.
He called the sales rep, and the price for the printer was $240,000. And
at that moment, you were what? 180.
It was we were 180 in revenue. Yep. Had no business model to prove, and we just felt so deflated because here's a solution. We knew that it could fix a lot of the problems that we were solving. Or they're trying to solve in the marketplace. It's scalable from a margin standpoint, and we're a super tight family. We just felt, hey, let's pray. Like, Lord, what do you like? This is your business.
Yeah,
we're just stewarding. What should we do? And we prayed, and we just felt like all the boxes that we're checking, just one after the other, this just makes sense.
Yeah.
With the exception from a financial perspective. So we looked at the resale value of the printers and said, hey, what do we have to lose? So $180,000 in revenue, early 2018, bought a $240,000 printer.
Wow. Yep.
And so the first.
That's a big leap. That's a huge leap.
Huge step of faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to date, that has been Bevanda's best investment.
That's awesome.
We still have the printer today. High margin. We do high volumes at high margins, and it's been very, very profitable.
Wow. So then from that moment in 2018, well, I didn't realize it was that year that you started doing those laser engravings. Was it laser engravings or
UV printing?
UV printing. Interesting. Okay. Well, I didn't realize it was that year because I've started using your bottles, I think in 2017, 2018. And I remember like my wife and I went to India and we did a tournament, a spike ball tournament, and you donated some bottles for the tournament with the logo from the tournament on it. And I mean, that was huge. Just we can talk about generosity and heart of generosity later. But then I remember carrying your water bottle all around India for 2 years, and just like I loved it. I was like, this is from Lancaster. It felt so cool to have a piece of Lancaster with me as I traveled everywhere. That's awesome. And it was always I raved about it too because the insulation, it kept things cool, and India's hot. And yeah, so, but then going from 2018, from that moment for the following years, and then you're approaching COVID, what were some steps in that time frame that were some like mile markers, some maybe challenges that came up? What was the next few years like?
It was a business model. So we knew that so this was 2018. The drinkware market at that point was starting to become extremely saturated. And we just got in at the time where there was still some space. We were still able to steal a lot of customers from Yeti, but we knew that we have to develop our own products. We have to develop something because if you look at Stanley, their product line has exploded. Yeti exploded. It's not just drinkware. And a lot of the companies, you have to do that. And it almost has to be proprietary, something different, something that sets you apart. And some of these brands like Stanley has done such a great job of becoming a brand essentially overnight.
Yeah.
And how did they do that? There's a lot of data out there and studies. But for us, we knew that we had to create a product. So with us being in Lancaster, the customers that were buying our product, a lot of them were in the trades and small business owners. And so we began to ask them if we could create any type of product kind of within this industry. Like we're not doing any camping stuff, hiking, like within this industry where you're carrying the water bottle, carrying the gallon jug to the job site, what would it be? And a lot of the feedback that we got was there's not a good quality lunchbox on the market. And so we kind of put the thing to get two and two together. Like, if we can create a lunchbox that's price efficient, well insulated, it's durable, and we can print logos on it, it's probably going to sell. Yeah. And so in 2019, we went to the drawing board, and it was two of us on the team, and said, hey, this is kind of what we're looking for. And how do you create a lunchbox that's proprietary? Yeah. There's not a whole lot you can do, but there's ideas. So we had this idea of like a magnetic lid closure. And probably the coolest thing, that the best selling point to this date has been a magnetic ice pack. So it has, the 20 quart has slim, it's like a 1/2 inch thick ice packs. There's nothing proprietary about that. But we put magnets inside the ice pack and then magnets inside the walls of the lunchbox. So it has this popping sound when you put it's
very
cool,
satisfying.
Right? Very it's just cool. It's different than just kind of ice packs floating around. And so we took that to the factories, our idea, and once again we were super deflated because the molds for that product costed about $150,000. Wow. So what we've soon discovered is like with the business, some business models are very, very simple startups. And so I don't recommend this to anybody of just jumping in the industry that you have no clue of, because you're going to have frustrations and you're going to be deflated all the time. But we couldn't there was no turning back. It's like, we got to figure this out. And kind of back to the printer story, we had paid $250,000 for a printer, 180K of revenue. We got to do something. And so we pulled the trigger. And the first trade show that we did, it was in Quarryville. A vendor, it was called the East Tool Show. It's through Little Mountain Printing. They had a lot of conservative folks come out that are in the trades, and the samples were late. We didn't have the physical samples for the trade show. We had this 3-tier pamphlet that we were advertising, and then we had this 3x5 LED light box of displaying what we're selling. And we sold 1,400 units at that trade show. Wow.
That's crazy.
And why did we sell it? I think it was a really good product. It was different, and contractors and business owners, we could print their logo on it. And so what we found is if you can create a good quality product and be able to print logos on it, they'll buy it. Contractors, business owners, they'll buy either employee Christmas gifts, client Christmas gifts over Christmas in the fourth quarter. And so we just kind of rode that wave.
So that goes to your business model as well, because you are a Q4 heavy business. From what I remember you sharing, like majority of your work is in Q4. How does that work? Being somewhat of a seasonal, how do you break out of that? How's that process been, and how's it going?
Very, very difficult. To date, it's our biggest challenge because what happens is 65% of our revenue is in Q4. With the type of work we do, we're essentially, Bevanda is essentially a marketing engine, just like Yeti and a marketing engine. So it's really hard to find seasonal help. What happens is Q4, we do 65% of our revenue, and their cash position in January is up here. Well, we start, Q2 is our slowest quarter. Q1 is the second slowest, and it's Q3 and Q4. And so we start burning through our cash rate. Well, what happens now today, from a cash flow position, July and August are two most difficult because we start running out of the cash because we're placing our orders now for Christmas. And that's even difficult and takes a lot of faith because our sales guys right now are not closing deals because if you call a customer, if I call you and say, hey, Ryan, employee Christmas gift, you're like, man, dude,
I'm not even I'm not thinking about that right now.
Thinking about You're going to wait till October, November to do that, even December, maybe, possibly. And so just those challenges. So it's based off of the data of, we have 5-6 years of data that, hey, this is how many units we've sold, but there's challenges with that. Every year you have big clients that inquire, and we just don't have the capacity. We've had that numerous times where we'd want 4,000 units and we don't have them because we just don't have the cash to buy that much inventory. And so that's been very, very difficult of managing that. And then we're big on culture at Bevanda, hiring the right people, put them in the key seats to succeed. Well, if you're slow in Q1 and 2, you don't want to lay off your staff. So it's been very, very challenging. And to say we don't have it figured out yet. We're still trying to figure out how to make that turn.
Yeah. Huh. Well, going back a little bit to your upbringing. So you were born and raised Amish. How old were you when you left the Amish?
I was 20 years old.
You were 20. So what about, so then do you have formal education?
8th grade education.
8th grade education. So to go from that to starting up this business, and I love that. Like it blows my mind every time talking to entrepreneurs, business owners that don't have necessarily a formal education, don't have a college degree, let alone a high school degree or a high school diploma. But like, how did that go for you? Like learning on the go, like it impresses me more than anything else is the guys that don't have this formal education will go start a business and just continue to grow, will learn on the go. Like, how's that been for you? Have there been regrets of not having more education, or are you just doing what you can with what's in front of you?
I mean, I think the biggest thing Patrick Bet-David says that the scariest entrepreneurs are the ones that think they can get it done. And I think there's in our industry and some of our team members and the people I've met are extremely, extremely smart people. But sometimes what happens is that might contradict what you want to do because you overanalyze. The more information you have about something, the more knowledge you have about something, you might tend to overanalyze it. Like, we had no clue what we were doing. We were naive. And sometimes being naive
can be a blessing.
It can be a blessing, right? And that was 100% my case. I think that from an education standpoint, for sure, I think there's times when, man, I wish I would know more. But a lot of great leaders never flex on that they're the smartest person in the room. They hire smart people. And so just surrounding ourselves with, I think probably the biggest thing that I've learned is if you have the grit to get it done, you become pretty scary. If you say, I'm unstoppable, I'm going to keep going, it's going to be hard year after year, year after year. 10 years in, you're still grinding. those are the scary entrepreneurs.
So what are some of the key traits that you feel like is beneficial in leadership, entrepreneurship, for somebody to succeed?
I think it comes down to will. And for my family, we were never wealthy, but we loved business, and all of our family still loves business today. And it's not like you're in love with money, but you're in love with business, what it brings, the satisfaction. And so I think it's will. And we don't do this for fun, right?
Yeah.
And last year was one of the most difficult years of my entrepreneur journey. And I sit in a peer group and I asked them a question. It was like, is business supposed to be fun? And I wasn't having fun because there were so many objections, hurdles, and it wears you down. But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to decide, am I going to keep going or I'm going to throw in the towel?
Yeah.
And then you align it, well, this isn't my business to begin with. God, I have big visions for where Bevanda could go. Yep. Just does that mean you're going to quit just because it gets hard?
Right.
And so I think it's will and grit.
Yeah.
I think it's that simple.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with a good salesperson, what defines a really, really good salesperson versus a mediocre salesperson?
Yeah. It's that drive
How do you, especially with teaching somebody to get out of the cave, go out, kill something, and drag it back.
Yep.
I mean, and a cool testimony of God's faithfulness is Bevanda has never missed payroll in the history of our company.
Yep.
We've never been late on payments. Now there was some days where I get an email and said, hey, if we don't have $20,000 in cash by tomorrow, we're going to miss payroll. And so I think that drives you. That is not a fun place to be. And so at that point, you don't have a choice. You can't just go home at night, lay your head down at night. You have families to feed. There's employees, there's vendors. Vendors have their families to feed. And so when that happens, when you're faced with, I have to do something, that I got to force myself to be creative, I think it comes down to will and grit.
Yeah. And with that will and grit, it's a hunger to learn as well. You're constantly learning. To be a successful entrepreneur, business leader, you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. It's you can make a mistake, but if you don't learn from it, it's pointless. But if you make a mistake and you learn from it and you grow, then it's not a pointless mistake. And I think a huge part of business leadership is continuously learning. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's 100%. There's a quote that says that, let me see if I can figure it out. Wise, smart people, average people, good people learn from their mistakes. Wise people learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you learn from other people's mistakes? Well, you read books, you listen to podcasts, there's information out there. Yeah. And so I saw that quote probably in 2016, 2017, and it changed everything. It's how can... And 100% learning from your own mistakes. That's very, very painful. We've made a lot of extremely painful mistakes. For example, is hiring a marketing position and not really knowing what you're hiring for, and you're essentially setting them up for failure. And before you know it, you're out $20,000 in payroll with no results to show for. That's extremely painful. Yep. So you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. So how do you avoid it? Right. You have to learn.
Yeah, for sure. So with that, if you don't mind sharing another mistake that could potentially help somebody else learn, and potentially learn from your mistakes, especially with e-commerce and dealing with overseas shipping. I think there's so many logistics that go into that a lot of people don't understand. But yeah, if you could share another mistake.
Our biggest mistake in Bevanda history was probably the John Deloney event.
Okay.
Which you read that one.
I loved it. Yeah.
Were you at the Will Guidera one the year before?
I wasn't. No.
So what happened is, we decided, kind of the context of how that started. So with the new lunchbox coming out, and then a gallon jug a year later, the 5-gallon dispenser a year later, we said, how can we get in front of these business owners? So we do this traditional open house, invite business owners to Bevanda's facility, check out our new products, get free food. Well, executive level positions, the decision makers in companies, that they're busy, and so they would send HR. They wouldn't send the decision makers. So we began to see like this decline in attendance and revenue. So we said we got to do something different. In 2021, I heard Will Guidara speak on his book Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yep. Amazing book.
And so we love hospitality. We love good customer service. Yep. Passionate about that stuff, and those are actually things that actually can move the needle that you can actually control in small businesses. Yep. A lot of things that you can't control, but those are one of the things. So we said, okay, we can control this. So we said, how can we get creative of getting in front of these business decisions and business decision makers? And so just being a serial entrepreneur and these crazy ideas, we said, what would it look like if we'd hire Will Guidara to come in and speak? It'd be invitation only, and you have to be a business owner. So we rented a facility, hired Will Guidara, $45,000 speaking fee. We spent about $110,000 on the event, and 320 people showed up. A lot of key business decision makers, because it's like, if I'm going to invite you, Ryan, and say, hey, Will Guidara's coming to town. It's free, but it's invitation only. You'd probably come to that. And it was a massive success. Our sales exploded. The mistake what we made is we said, hey, let's repeat that.
Yeah. And
so we had our existing customer contact list, our existing attendance list, and we said, hey, let's bring Dr. John Deloney back. And Dr. John Deloney, he's amazing. Rented it, a bigger facility, invited 420 people, 405 people showed up, and we said the same thing. This is who Bevanda is. And the mistake was that a lot of those customers, a lot of those people that were there had bought from us the previous year.
Right.
And with our limited product selection, they said, we're not going to buy from you again, dude. Like, this event is amazing.
Yeah. And
so we were right in the middle of it, and we had this epiphany moment of like, what were we thinking? We did not think this through. And an experienced marketing professional would have seen, hey, like, don't repeat. Just because it was a success last year doesn't mean it's going to be a success this year, because the same customers are going to come. You don't have a new product. And so we got hosed on the event. We spent $128,000 on that event, and I don't even know if we recouped even a quarter of it.
Wow. So do you think a big part of that is because there wasn't a new product? Like, even if you would have had a new product coming out in between, and your customer base would have seen that new product, be like, hey, that's a great Christmas gift for this year. Like, do you think that would have been night and day difference? Or?
It would have probably been successful.
Okay.
But the problem with us releasing new products is you talk about 80 to 150 grand in mold fees. And then what happens, the more products that you add, the more inventory load you have to carry.
Yeah.
And that has been our biggest problem is every year after Christmas, you're sitting on this amount of inventory. It's in your warehouse.
Yep.
How do you turn it into cash? Well, with our current marketing strategy, people aren't buying from us in Q1 and 2. So it's like you may as well sit on the inventory from Q1, 2, and 3 and sell it in Q4. Well, that's not good business either. So there's this book called Great by Choice by Jim Collins, and he talks about intentionally holding back the growth of your company. Like Southwest, for example, they intentionally only fly 737s. And to date, they're still not in all major airports.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Well, in 2001, over the September 11 attacks, they remained profitable. They were the only airline that remained profitable by intentionally holding back your growth so that they remained profitable. So we said, okay, we're having this problem. We're growing too fast. We're growing about 40% year over year. The more products that we develop, the more inventory load we're going to have to carry.
Yep.
It's just not sustainable. And so we said, let's find new customers, because customer acquisition, it's either customer acquisition cost or inventory load costs. And so we made that decision, not really going into the event, Bevanda Nexus, the event with John Deloney, not really understanding that and thinking it through. And so it would have been, it probably would have been successful
if there was something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. But again, you put on a great event. That was an awesome event. Well done. I loved it.
But here's the thing, Ryan, is okay, great event.
Right.
It creates raving fans, which it has.
Yep.
But it still hasn't contributed to our bottom line.
Yeah.
Which is a good lesson, because just because it's a good idea and fans rave about it, is how does it contribute to the bottom line?
Right.
And how does it, and we still have plans to do future live events, but we're not going to do it till we can figure out how it does this. So Bevanda is here. How does this contribute to Bevanda's success? And we're still not sure how we're going to how that plays out.
Yeah. Huh.
because they're essentially two different. Now, if you want to host a leadership conference,
right?
Maybe,
yeah.
But conferences are expensive to run and usually point to something back to the business and either a subscription model of something you're running within the company or selling product.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that event is we've had a lot of businesses that had told us the things that we needed to hear. Everybody, because we do promotional, we had several large companies say, Jonathan, with all due respect, you guys have a great brand, you have a great event, but I think you should pivot your business strategy. You guys should become a promotional company. We would buy from you. And so we had to after the Nexus, we had to kind of step back, discuss as a family, our team, what does Bevanda want to be? Because we're at the intersection. We have the drinkware, we have our beverage dispensers, and we have our lunch boxes. They're essentially three different end consumers from a direct-to-consumer standpoint. The common denominator of the three is the printing side of it, which is promotional. So if you're really going to leverage promotional, then go all in. Do shirts, do pens, do offer apparel, whatever. Really dive into that.
Yeah. So where does that bring you now? I mean, you're in the midst of a rebrand, and you're diving more into the trades. Can you explain how you got to where you are now with your rebrand and what your hopes are with it?
It was exactly because of the promotional idea of become a promotional company. And we, at the end of the day, Lainey and I, my sister, she's my business partner, my mom's my business partner, we sat down and said, what do we want to be? What is the future Bevanda? And our goal has always been to build a brand of products. And so when you become a promotional company, your brand, the products that we've created in the past immediately lose value. And here's why. Since we've started, we've had over 100 requests of, hey, I'd like to buy a Yeti tumbler. Can you print my Yeti tumbler? Because Yeti's such a brand name. Everybody knows who they are. And so the moment that you become a promotional company, they're going to want to buy a Yeti tumbler. They might want to buy Stanley. They're going to want to buy Yeti coolers. They're going to want to buy Stanley coolers, whatever that is. And the products that we've invested so much time and energy and money into the molds, they're going to lose their value. And so we just said, do we stop now? And so at the end of the day, like there's not a right or a wrong answer in business. There's so many opinions out there. I mean, you know this, Ryan. So many different opinions. So what do you do? And so we just said, what do we want to be? Like what gets you excited? What gets you out of bed in the morning? And for me, I'm fascinated by brands. That's always kind of what I dreamt of. And so let's build that.
Yeah. And
I would 100% say it's the harder road. But then the rebrand kind of was birthed out of the Nexus event of our three product lines, what has the greatest runway in the marketplace from a direct-to-consumer standpoint? Because we have a Q1, 2, and 3 sales problem. Where do we think that we can really leverage? Is there a runway? Is a void in the marketplace? And we can capitalize on that.
Yeah.
And so we looked at all of our products, and it was the lunchbox that we created in 2019. It's trades focused and said, hey, all of our marketing efforts, the brand voice, the brand feel is going to be focused, telling stories around the trades, hard work, getting up at 4:30 a.m., packing a lunch, going out the job site. And then the gear that we build around that is channels up to that.
Yeah.
And so we just launched a rebrand about 4 weeks ago. And so we're excited to see where it goes.
With a rebrand, I feel like there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of mental energy, time, potentially new hires. Like, what all have you not invested financially, but like, what does that look like for you now going forward? And what are your hopes with this new rebrand?
Our goal is to obviously direct to consumer, Amazon, our e-commerce, and but of course, we're really excited for Q4 because I think we can do both. We can still be a promotional company within being trades focused, but I think right now is trying to get creative. There's this book, I forget it's the former Nike chief marketing officer wrote the book. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
There's one line that I remember distinctly in that book, and it says that marketing companies with the biggest budgets aren't the most creative. It's actually the ones with the smallest budgets. And so I'm like, dude, so just get creative with it.
Yeah.
And so I think just being creative of key partnerships, you can't do everything. You can't do TikTok Shop, Amazon, direct to consumer, Amazon. Now there's AI. You can't do all of those as a small company. You can't do all of those well.
Yeah.
So you have to really focus on what's going to move the needle. And so every single conversation that we have within our marketing team is, how can I get sales in Q4?
Yeah.
How long term is great, but I think sometimes you focus too much on long term of it's going to bring investment. It's going to bring investment. Well, eventually the cash dries up, and you can't just put your hopes on that. You actually need results.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know the guys at BuildWit, Aaron Witt.
I know.
I'm sure you stumbled across his content.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they do this big Dirt World conference in Dallas, Texas. So we reached out to them and said, hey, this is who we are. Like, what would a partnership look like? And so their ticket sales are slow in August. And we said, hey, here's what we'll do. We'll donate 100 of our products because we have the product in the warehouse. We'll donate 100 products. You run this advertising campaign. And this was partially their idea of, if you buy a ticket, the first 100 people to buy a ticket, a Dirt World ticket, gets a free Bevanda product. Well, we sponsored that.
Sweet.
And so through that, BuildWit's like, oh, like who are these guys? In return, they reached back out and said, hey, we read the book Unreasonable Hospitality. We're trying to create this really, really cool experience for the attendees. What would it look like if we would buy 1,500 of your lunch boxes with the BuildWit logo on it? We'll send you a hat, a shirt, and a thank you card. You guys print them in advance, and when the attendees return from the Dirt World conference, it's sitting at their door.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
And so that's a great idea. Now, they haven't pulled the trigger on that, but you asked the question of like, the rebrand is so recent that I don't really have any campaigns that have been successful yet, but those are kind of our channels. And it's when you really define who your target audience is. Before the Deloney event, it was Christmas gifts. So anybody's looking for Christmas gifts, we would contact them. Now it's different. It's like, if you're in the trades, we contact you, and it's a lot different. It flows better. It's not easier, but it's more pinpointed.
More directed.
It's very directed.
Intentional.
Yeah, it's very intentional. And so there's this, right before I got here, Ryan, I had this cold email from somebody who jumped on our website, somebody from RoofCon. It's a huge 4,000 person event that they do for roofing companies that said, we think Bevanda would be a great fit for either a sponsor or exhibitor. And so we had a conversation, and we were like, hey, let's get pricing, because it's roofers, it's trades guys. And so that's kind of our focus, is leveraging key partnerships. Maybe we're talking about some licensing deals. And so, because the direct-to-consumer market, running ads, influencer marketing, that's really, really difficult and takes a lot of money. And so you got to just get strategic
and figure it out. And
because at this point, marketing is essentially what you can afford to lose, right? Well, at this point for us, it's almost zero. We can't afford, we have to have some type of return. So he's like, hey, do you think I'm going to be able to get a return on this? And so obviously with the BuildWit one with 100 units, we can afford to lose the units. Or it's not like we're writing it. We paid for the inventory 6 months ago. It's sitting in the warehouse. Your chances are pretty good. And we're allowed to put whatever marketing materials we want. So if 100 contractors buy a ticket to Dirt World, we can put marketing materials in. It's different because now they're touching and feeling your product. They're not just seeing an ad. So you understand the creativity behind that. So it's just those channels.
Awesome. And getting creative, like you said, getting creative with your marketing and figuring out where your ideal client is and meeting them there.
I think the key to that is, don't be afraid to get scrappy. So you asked what another investment. So we just hired two really, really talented guys. They were culture fit. We were going to hire one. We felt like the door was open to hire both. They're both extremely talented. But what happens with some of those talented people is they overanalyze and they want perfection. And they're creating this content, have these marketing ideas that are almost perfect. And I'm over here, all I know is scrappy. And it's like, hey, if we can combine this creativity, this talent, you still got to be scrappy. And I'm sure you understand that, Ryan, running a business. Like sometimes scrappy is actually, there's a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that are really, really successful that really, really respect the scrappiness, the hustle and the scrappiness.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
I think young entrepreneurs often mistake that. It's like it's sloppy.
They feel like it have to be perfect.
It feels like it has to be perfect, and that's one of the biggest things I learned is like scrappy is actually good.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. While we wrap up, what are some like I've seen you to be very generous with nonprofits, with connecting with people. Where did you learn that? And how do you feel like that plays into business?
Man, I don't know exactly where I learned it. I think probably when it started. So in 2017 when we started, I mentioned Corksicle that we carried at our location.
Yeah.
In 2018, we did one of our first trade shows, and it's at the Surf Expo, which is in Orlando, Florida, at the Orange County Convention Center. It's huge.
Yeah.
All these surfing brands and fishing brands, and we're there just trying to feed our family, trying to grow our business. And Eric from Corksicle walks in our booth. We knew who he was because of the competition, and to that point, we probably had 3 other run-ins with him. What they would do at the time, because they were kind of the leading, they were really exploding. Everybody was talking about Corksicle.
Yeah.
What they would do with every single new brand that would pop up, they'd send them cease and desist letters. Well, as a new company, that's super, super scary. And Freddy's like, what are they going to sue us? Like, man, like, what did we do? Like, everything we worked for the last year. And so he walks in our booth, super intimidating, super disrespectful, and put a cease and desist letter and said, if you don't tear down your show booth by the end of the day, we're gonna send our attorney after you. And it was a scare tactic. Like by that time we had our own attorney. We sent them a letter back and says like, hey, go pound sand. We're not infringing on any of your patents, anything like that. It was just a scare tactic.
Yeah.
And I remember how that made me feel. The economy of America is so much bigger than one company. There's enough of pie for everybody to enjoy. And my brother and I were, Leon was still at the company at that time. And we made a vow that we will never, ever be that company. As a matter of fact, we'll actually share information to help other people succeed.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the solidifying thing from the Lord of like, okay, this is the right path. Selfishness never gets you anywhere. And it's like, hey, if we can be generous. And I think with the type of business that we do, we have businesses, nonprofits all the time come up to us and say, hey, we're running this fundraiser.
Yeah.
Our product is easy to donate. And so we just felt like, hey, like, there's a reason people keep coming to us. Let's just say yes. And so we find ourselves hardly ever saying no.
Yeah.
And I think the reward from that, we've never gotten financial dividends from that. Like Bevanda is still a startup. We're still tight on cash. We're not wildly profitable, but I think the rewarding thing of being generous. And in 2023, we came to our point of hiring our accounting secretary, and she came on board, banking background, and her dad was diagnosed with cancer, and obviously she was devastated. That's horrible news. And she's from Lancaster. I think her family was from Wisconsin, and she wanted to make a trip back to Wisconsin. So she was going to do it. And I knew like her husband was ran a construction company, but we just felt the Lord saying, hey, I want you to pay her round trip. And I think round trip was Wisconsin, flying into Green Bay, maybe 22 tickets were fairly expensive. So we paid her food, her flight tickets. And her response from that, she said she's never had anything like that happen before. And I said, if God has given us this platform to be generous, I'm here for it, man. And it's become extreme and crazy, incredibly rewarding of seeing being able to bless people.
Yeah.
And I think that the story in the Bible is not the widow that gave everything. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's not giving all your cash in your bank account. It's a heart posture. And so just having that heart posture of, man, if I feel the Lord, and it comes back to obedience too. If the Lord's prompting me to give, I want to be obedient. And we've had that where we like, man, this is extremely, extremely painful. Another example is healthcare. So I made the decision early on in my company, I want to provide healthcare for my companies. My CPA told me we're crazy. My accounting secretary, you're crazy. Like, you're a small business. You can't afford it. And I just felt a prompting from the Lord. My wife and I and my sister were like, this is a decision that we want to make. The first week that we implement it, we even implement it to part-timers. When our employees comes into my office, she began to cry and said, you have no idea what this means. I have this health issue. I didn't get it checked because I couldn't afford it, and I can't afford health care. And so it's like, man, that's what moves the needle.
Absolutely.
Now, does it move the needle in your business? Maybe not.
Right.
We're still banking on the faith. Hey, we're having faith of we want to be obedient here. And so I don't know if that answers your question, right? I just think of being having a heart posture of just being radically generous. We actually have that core value at Bevanda saying it's radical generosity. And giving, it's not an option, it's mandatory. You give, whether it's time, money, resources, because the corksicle was resources. We've since had companies come to us and say, hey, you imported this. I'm like, I'd be happy to share any information that I have. Now, there's some proprietary information that we worked hard for, but for the most part, it's just that spirit of generosity and seeing our team cultivate that. And we have this thing every Monday morning where we have our team meetings and we go over all of our core values. And so we ask people, hey, have you been on the receiving end of radical generosity or have you been radically generous?
Yeah.
Well, the team members are like, hey, I tip this waitress. Like normally I tip the normal 18, 20%. I tip this waitress $100. Man, you should have seen the expression on her face. And it's like, man, if you can cultivate that and inspire people to do the same. Yeah. Crazy rewarding.
And that's where business can go beyond business. Like your relationships within your business can be transformative outside of business. Like your business relationships are so much more than your 9 to 5. And it's like you're making an impact in people's lives. And that's, in my opinion, that's what business is all about. It's like, yes, the financial side, but it's like we're here to make impacts in lives and help people grow, help people learn. This year has probably been a wild ride with tariff unknowns and question marks and ups and downs on Chinese tariffs.
So I just texted my friend today. He imports as well, has a very large business, but we exchange tariff information, trade information, and we're just texting today. And I said the biggest for us in tariff increase last year we paid 17.3% on tariffs, which means if an item costs you $100, you're going to pay $17.30 in tariffs.
Okay.
This year, we're now at 58.4%.
That's crazy. For $100, yeah. I mean,
so now you're at $58 compared to 17. So what's that math? 17, $18 minus $59. A significant price increase. A lot of what we get in our industry is what's the difference between your product and Yeti? Here all the time, and respectfully so. Like Yeti's an incredible brand. I love everything they do. They are an amazing, amazing company. How do you answer that? Well, I think the only time that you can really, not the only time, but one of the biggest advantages you can do is sell your product for less. Well, I would imagine Yeti at some point is going to raise and increase their prices, but they're such a big company that can absorb it and they can play the long game. They can have a 5-year strategy of like all the other companies are going to have to raise tariffs. We don't have to. We're going to kind of take market share. And so I just had a meeting with my CPA this morning. Said, here's where we are. We actually just lost a 400 quote order yesterday to price.
Wow.
And we try to get to yes or no. Not just, we're not going to do this. Why aren't you going to buy from us this year? And so it was a lead that I created. I got on the phone with her and I said, hey, and she's like, it's just out of our budget. Our budget is $50 per employee. We have 400 employees and we were at $132. There's no way to bridge that gap. That's before the price increase, Ryan. So now you're attacking an additional, even if we do a 10% price increase, $140 item is 30-ish bucks, $28. And so now you have that. Our marketing team says, we ain't raising prices. The market's hard enough to penetrate and to get sales online. Our accountant, our CPA said, you have to raise prices to stay in business. What do you do?
So, I mean, where's that? A question is it possible? What's it look like to bring your manufacturing
So the beverage dispenser that we had, the 5-gallon beverage dispenser, we sell that for $3.99. When we were in product development in 2021, we priced it domestically So $399 retail, we would be selling it at $740 to $800 if we would manufacture domestically.
That's crazy.
And so one of our salespeople, just going through our existing customer list, making phone calls. Hey, how can we help this year? He's like, gets on the phone. He's like, is your product manufactured in the USA? And he's like, no. He's like, well, if you can't figure that out, I won't be a customer. I'm not a customer anymore. Those types of comments, people have no idea when they say that. Like they're like everything in this room, Ryan. Like all this stuff is manufactured overseas.
Yep.
And to bring that back, and sure, some of the manufacturing, I think is absolutely you can be competitive to bring it back, but there's such a big gap that I just in my finite mind, I don't know how it's possible to bring it back.
Yeah,
we're definitely going to try.
Yep.
We had I have a meeting coming up next week with a sourcing manufacturing company, the sales rep, and just figure out how it can we price it out again to see if we're remotely close, and we're doing more volume than we were in 2021. So maybe we can bring it domestically, but I just don't see it.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean,
and again, it kind of what I shared with you guys and my story. I think it's just another obstacle in business, and I think Joseph in the Bible, I'm sure he was met with numerous obstacles, and God wanted to develop his character. I think in entrepreneur, if you have an obstacle like that, what do you do? What do you do in those moments? And it's like, okay, God, this business is still yours. I'm just stewarding it. I need wisdom to navigate this. I need something to break through. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you're trying to teach me, but show me so that I can make the right decisions. And sometimes those decisions don't come, but I think it's developing the character, the will, what we talked about, the will. Do you have the will to get it done? You got to I came back to my team just after the meeting today with our CPA and said, we might have to raise prices or we might have to get crazy creative.
Yeah.
You might have to pick one.
Right.
Might have to do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And so that's our heart posture. It's just like, let's just get creative and see what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's awesome. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on is your dad and just kind of honor him and his legacy. My dad passed away 4.5 years ago. And I think one thing that's very important is just continuing their legacy and sharing about what we learned from them. I don't know if you have one or two things that you feel like you learned from your dad that just are like key core values that you have today.
I mean, we talked about generosity, and now that you mentioned it, you said, where did you learn that? It was definitely from my dad. Well, my mom and dad never had a ton of money to give away, but the funeral procession was crazy. It was a lot of people. There's a lot of people that walked through. My dad had made an impact on a lot of people, and it was because he was generous with his time.
Yep.
And one of the things that we talk about at Bevanda, our family, is it's sometimes easier to be generous with your money because it doesn't require your time. You can just, I'll just write a check. Here you go.
Yep.
What about if somebody's asking for your time? My dad did that. He modeled it extremely well for my mom and his kids, where my sister had a flat tire. He would drop what he was doing. Yep. He wasn't an entrepreneur. And sometimes with an entrepreneur, you're like, go. Yep. What's the next big thing? I got to be here. I got this meeting, do this. Yeah. He just had time for people. And so... And he was very, very kind. Like my dad was a peacemaker, and so those are probably the two main things of probably the thing that impacted us with the Corksicle incident in Orlando was be kind to people. Yeah. Everybody's just trying to feed their family, right. And so my dad was very kind and he was patient.
Yeah, and to be on the receiving end of somebody being not kind, being very rude and intimidating, like your experience down in Florida, makes you want to be the opposite even more. Like you just 100%. Want to treat people well. You just want to just be a kind person. Like it doesn't help anybody to be rude or a jerk. And so don't be that person.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Cause I only met your dad once or twice, but from what I've seen and what I've heard, he was an amazing man.
Well, thanks.
And that's, again, just keeping their legacies going and keep talking about them. Keep sharing their story. I think we're going to wind down, but thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing. Is there any other last words that you want to share to anybody watching, listening?
I think thanks for having me on, Ryan. I really enjoyed this. I think the kind of ties into the generosity thing, where this has been my direct experience as of today is what do you do from the generosity side of like business is more than just business. You still have to play to win. You still have to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
That Bevanda we're going on year 8. We're projected $4.2 million in revenue.
That's awesome.
With not a significant amount of profits. I've never taken a ton of money from the business, and that has been very, very challenging. But I think, what do you do? I think it is a question for the audience. What do you do when you are obedient to the Lord, but there's still this waiting season? What does God want to do in your life as far as building character, the things that he wants you to learn?
Yeah.
My favorite story in the Bible is Joseph. I mean, biblical scholars believe he was in prison for 12 to 13 years. Well, I've been an entrepreneur now for 8 years, and it's been extremely painful, extremely painful. Yeah. Most years it hasn't been fun. Has it been rewarding? 100%. It's been so rewarding, but not fun. There's a difference. And you can find joy through the rewarding side.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks again. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your insight, your wisdom. And I hope this inspires and blesses people. So thanks a lot, Jonathan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Absolutely.